Hi there, this is Doug Bender once again with the Mon Valley Church and our daily proverb going all the way through the month of January. Today is the 12th, so we're going to read a verse from chapter 12 of Proverbs. Today I'm going to read verse 5 for us. I encourage you to read the whole chapter. There's so much more in this chapter, but here's the one I'm going to highlight for you today. Verse 5, the plans of the righteous are just, but the advice of the wicked is deceitful. Okay, this verse talks about how we should find wisdom in the advice or words or counsels of others. Okay, and we have two groups of people we can seek advice from. We all need advice at some point. The question is, where do we get that advice? What kind of person should we be seeking out to find that advice? Okay, we got two options, the righteous or the wicked. What are these two peoples? All right, the righteous are people who are living God's plan. It's not just that they have lots of information in their head and they're smart people, but they're actually applying God's wisdom, God's plan in their life. Okay, that kind of person, the plans they give you when you say, hey, how should I do this one thing? How should I figure this problem out in my life? When they give you a plan and they are a person who is living out God's truth, guess what? Their plan, their advice is going to tend to be just. It's going to be good. It's going to be fair. It's going to be helpful. Okay, on the contrast, if the person you're seeking advice from is not following God, if they are what the Bible here is calling wicked, okay? Wicked doesn't necessarily mean like they are terrible, horrible people. It means they are not on God's plan. They are just doing a different plan, and it's not God. Anybody not on God's plan, he calls wicked, okay? If you take their advice, what's going to be the result? Deceit. Okay, here's what that means. Okay, a wicked person may really be in it for themselves. So you ask them for advice and they give you an answer. But sometimes, if they're not on God's plan, they don't have to follow the law of love your neighbor. They might just be loving themselves, in which case they're giving you advice that's really good for them, but not for you. So be cautious of that. That's why you got to make sure you ask advice from the right person. But secondly, and this is probably the more common thing, someone who's not on God's plan is going to, by definition, not know how to give you good, godly advice because they themselves are confused. They themselves have been deceived into believing that God's plan is not the best one. So if they don't know that they've been deceived and by another plan, someone's plan other than God's, then guess what? When you ask for their advice, they're going to give you the wrong advice. They're going to send you off on that same confused plan that they're following. All right? So the challenge today is simple. Assess who you're taking advice from. Look around. Are the people you're asking advice from, the people you're regularly seeking counsel from, whether that be some TV personality or someone online or a friend you work with, is that person righteous? Are they on God's plan or are they not? If they're not, beware. You're going down a dangerous path. All right, that's my wisdom for you today. We'll get you another one tomorrow. Take care.